Culture is dead, or at least that's what I thought. When I look back at the 80s and the 90s, or even the early 2010s, every decade seemed to have its own identity. You can almost picture them without even trying. The clothes that people wore, the music everyone listened to, and the way that people spoke. Even the way films looked felt different. Every era had a personality. But then I look around today and I struggle to describe what our generation will be remembered for. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is. I don't think culture disappeared, I just think it became impossible to see. Growing up in the early 2010s, it always felt like everyone was living through the same moments together. I remember everyone talking about the latest Call of Duty, Minecraft, and the same TV shows and films, the same songs, the same memes. And if something happened online, chances were you'd hear people talking about it the next day at school. It wasn't perfect, but there was something comforting about knowing that millions of people were sharing the same experiences. I don't think we realized we were building culture, we were just living in it. Nobody woke up and decided Minecraft would define a generation, or that everyone would quote the same YouTube videos at school. It happened naturally because we were all looking at the same things. I still remember walking into school on a Monday morning, knowing exactly what people would be talking about. If a new game came out, everyone had an opinion on it. If someone uploaded a video, chances were everyone had already seen it. There was a sense that we were all moving through the same period of life together. Looking back now, I think that's what I miss the most. Today, I'm not sure that's true anymore. Two people can spend 6 hours a day on the internet and have almost nothing in common. We all lived through the same decade, yet somehow we all experience a completely different internet. One person will watch football edits, another watches Korean cooking videos. Someone else spends their evenings learning guitar, and another watches productivity content. And none of these things are bad. In fact, they're all genuinely interesting. But that's exactly the point. We're all being pulled in completely different directions. The internet promised to connect us, yet somehow we've never been more fragmented. I think the algorithm changed culture more than we realized. Before social media decided what we saw, culture was shaped by where you lived. You listened to local bands, you wore what people around you were wearing, you found hobbies through friends, family, or school, and it was a place where your environment shaped you. Now our environment is a screen, and instead of being influenced by a few hundred people around us, we're influenced by billions of people all around the world. The strange thing is that this feels like freedom. We can watch whatever we want, listen to whatever we want, dress however we like, but because every single person is being recommended something different, there's few things that bring us together. We've gained individuality, but we've lost common ground. The algorithm doesn't care where you live or what your town is like. It only cares what will keep you scrolling, and because of that, everyone ends up building their own version of reality. I think that's why it feels harder to define this decade. Not because it lacks culture, because there isn't one culture anymore. There are millions of tiny ones, and music might be the best example, because when people talk about the 80s, certain songs come to mind, and again, the same happens in the 90s and the early 2000s, and even in the early 2010s. Music used to feel like a timestamp. You hear one song and instantly know roughly when it came out. It wasn't just the sound, it was everything that came with it. The attitude, the fashion, the people listening to it, everything seemed connected. Today I find it much harder to do that. I don't think it's because artists are less creative. I think it's because every artist now exists in their own corner of the internet. They're building communities rather than generations. The difference is that we're no longer listening together. The algorithm builds everyone their own playlist. Your favorite artist might have millions of listeners, and yet the person sitting next to you has never heard of them. Music hasn't lost its soul, it's lost its ability to unite us. And fashion feels the same. Every decade used to have styles that defined entire generations. And today's trends come and go in a matter of weeks. And by the time something becomes popular, it's already being replaced by something else. We're consuming trends faster than we can turn them into culture. And I think there's a difference. I don't think this is entirely social media's fault. Technology isn't evil. It simply gives us more choice than any generation before us ever had. The problem is that infinite choice comes with unexpected cost. Nothing lasts long enough to become meaningful. When everything is available all the time, nothing feels special anymore. I sometimes wonder what our generation will feel nostalgic for. Will we remember all the same songs, the same films, the same moments, or will nostalgia become personalized by an algorithm too? Will each of us simply just remember our own algorithm? I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think we've lost something valuable. We've lost local culture, and we've lost communities built around shared interests rather than shared recommendations. I think the biggest difference is that we used to discover who we were through the people around us. Now we discover who we are through algorithms, the clothes we wear, the hobbies we choose, even the opinions we hold. They often arrive through a screen before they ever arrive through a conversation. I don't think that's made us fake, but I do think it's made us less local. We know people on the other side of the world better than the people living next door. Sometimes I think we've mistaken being connected for belonging, and they're not the same. Belonging takes effort, it takes showing up, becoming a familiar face somewhere, and that's something no algorithm can do for us. So if culture really is disappearing, just how do we bring it back? I don't think the answer is deleting social media, and I don't think it's pretending technology doesn't exist. It's remembering that culture isn't something we watch, it's something we create. Go to local gigs or join a sports club, become a regular at a cafe, even something as simple as starting a tradition with your friends. Go out and wear clothes because you genuinely like them, not just because they're trendy. Listen to albums all the way through instead of a little 30-second snippet. Support people creating things in your own community. Have conversations with strangers and try and give people stories they'll tell about you one day. Maybe culture was never built by celebrities. Maybe it was built by ordinary people spending time together. Maybe that's what we've forgotten. The internet gives us access to an entire world, but somewhere along the way we stop paying attention to the one right in front of us. Culture isn't built in extraordinary moments, it's built when the same people keep showing up. It's the local cafe where the owner knows your exact order. It's the football team that meets every Wednesday. It's seeing the same dog walker every morning. It's becoming part of somewhere and something. The things we remember about previous decades weren't created by algorithms. They were created because millions of ordinary people shared ordinary moments together. Maybe that's what culture has always been. Not something handed down to us, but something we create together. Maybe nothing is broken at all, and we're the first generation to notice the change while it's still happening. Culture isn't dead, it's just waiting for us to create it again.